Welcome to Under the Wings Helmet. I'm Kyle Simmons, and I'm joined by former Michigan and NFL offensive lineman Thomas Guynes and a host of the ASAP Elite podcast, Rob Penn.
What up, dude?
This week's episode is sponsored by Jabs Gym. Learn the fundamentals of boxing through high-intensity strength and cardio workouts with locations in Metro Detroit, the Eastern Market, Ferndale, and Birmingham. We would also like to thank Juke. You can buy their gear at jukefootball.com. Last Saturday, the number 3 Wolverines defeated that team down south 30-24 at the Big House. J.J. McCarthy went 16 of 20 for 148 yards and a touchdown. Blake Corum had 22 carries for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. Once again, OC Sharon Moore filled in for head coach Jim Harbaugh, and he delivered, out-coaching Ryan Day the entire game. The win is the third straight versus the team down south and put the Wolverines at 12-0 overall, 9-0 in the Big Ten. Thomas.
1,001, and we are ranked number 2 now, baby.
Yes, sir. So, Thomas, I just want to get your views on last Saturday's game. What did you think?
Hey, I think it was one of those games that we expected to have. I was purely confident that we were going to win the game, but as I said during the last show, and I missed the spread by like 1 point. I said it was going to be 5 points or less, and it was 6. Everything came into fruition as I looked at the game. I thought it was going to be a battle in the trenches. I thought we were going to have to play ball control football, get 1 or 2, chunk plays, stop their big plays, and get to their quarterback. Like I said last week, even just with pressure, even we weren't getting the sacks per se, just making him uncomfortable back there, he was going to turn over the ball. So we won the turnover battle. All of those things came into fruition. Now, the big question right now is, was this game overly costly to get the win? When we look at the injuries with Will Johnson and Zach Zinter. I'm a big proponent of next man up. So if obviously Zach's not going to be ready to go anytime soon, Godspeed to him and for a full and speedy recovery. But also, when guys go down at Michigan, our motto has always been next man up. Just because you're second string doesn't mean that you aren't first string talent. Now you're getting your opportunity to show why we brought you here to Michigan. So we got to have that next man up mentality, get ready to go into this Big Ten championship game, press the gas against these Iowa Hawkeyes. What I'm looking for in that game is our ability to get these guys up out of the game early and step on their necks often. The Ohio State game is done. Again, great victory. I thought our offensive line did a really good job. I was concerned with their outside linebacker defensive end play as far as putting pressure on JJ. JJ got pressured a couple of times. He went out there and did what JJ does. The rest of the guys stepped up, and great point by Rob. I really think that Coach Moore did a hell of a job as far as preparing his game plan and also being able to execute the game plan throughout the game and make the appropriate adjustments when necessary.
It was a culmination of the first two games. The first game that we played with in the day era, we pretty much pulled it out with Hassan Haskins. I think scoring 5 touchdowns, but it was still a tight game. We couldn't believe we won last year. It was tight throughout the first half, and we made the adjustments. We blew them out in the second quarter. This game, we pretty much played that same tempo. You get what I'm saying? It was the real tenderization the entire game. You know what I'm saying? It was poetry in motion, should I say? We got hit, but we hit him right back in the mouth with a couple more with a 2-piece and a biscuit. You know what I'm saying? We always stayed out on top. We really exhibited who was the dominant team here. We played good around the board. Everybody was pretty strong. One thing I did predict was the cornerback play from Johnson and how he would match up well with Marvin Harrison. Pretty much canceled him out. And that was pretty solid. Other than that, we pretty much – I thought that it would be a closer game. I bet on Ohio State to cover, a matter of fact. They got blew up. just like the rest of my bets the whole season. But yeah, man, we're gonna go into Iowa. We're going to the Big Ten championship, just like 2 years ago when we played them in the Big Ten championship, and Corum's probably gonna run for 200. We're really gonna expose them. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now I do want to talk some more about that Zach Zinter injury. It seemed like that injury to him actually kind of provided a emotional uplift because they scored on the very next play with that run by Blake Corum. So, Thomas, moving forward, since you're offensive lineman, how much of a loss is Zinter going to be moving forward through this Big Ten championship game and the college football playoff?
Well, you know what? It's going to be interesting to see. Burkhardt had to go in and play right guard, and I want to say the young man, number 53, last name is Henderson, I believe, came out and played tackle. And I got to tip my hat to young Henderson. You coming in basically the biggest game of the season so far, and I thought he did a very admirable job, really good performance. So this is a guy that has been getting some playing time in key situations, bringing them in as an extra tight end, things of that nature. So he's not new to playing, but now being that guy and working his way into the quote unquote starting lineup is definitely going to be a bit of an adjustment and jump for him. But based off of what I saw, his ability to come in and again, the biggest game of the season so far, he did a really good job. So I know when I played, there were times where guys got hurt. One game I was starting left tackle. Next game I was the starting right guard. So and our luxury, if you will, to have guys that are able to play multiple positions on either side of the ball is huge for us. So yeah, we're going to miss Zach. We're going to miss his leadership. We're going to miss his experience. But again, I really feel like as far as our depth goes on the offensive line, we should be okay. So only time will tell right now. But I'm definitely not uncomfortable with this current combination of offensive linemen. Just got to get Henderson some more reps, obviously putting in the work this week during practice time and preparation for the Big Ten championship game, and just get Burkhardt used to playing inside. In my opinion, obviously is a lot easier because you don't have all the space moving inside to guard from tackle. So once the guys, I think, just kind of get on the same page, and again, these guys have been together all season. Everybody's in the same room. I'm sure during practice times, there's been some different combinations played with. So this isn't like we're just going to be fielding a brand new squad of offensive linemen that have never played before. So I'm still expecting great quality of production and consistency throughout this championship run.
I think that this is going to affect us during the playoffs, really, when we play against them real solid defensive lines. Because first of all, this offensive line wasn't just that dominant in the first place to begin with, as it was the last 2 years. We were solid, but we weren't the staple of the offensive line, wasn't the staple of the team this year. So I think that spot might really show and may be highlighted in the playoffs, and it may affect the rush yardage per game, especially on that left side.
Well, so, I mean, it's interesting that you speak about the playoffs because that was one of my questions as I sat here and pondered. Obviously, we still got to beat Iowa, but I'm confident that we're going to do that. But upon doing so, as we get into championship week here, Oregon versus Washington, Florida State versus Louisville, which team, obviously, it's going to be, yeah, I'm saying obviously because we're going to win. It's going to be us and Georgia as two parties in the playoff. Who's going to be the other two? I'm looking at
Washington and Alabama,
or
Washington, Texas,
or I'm still looking at Oregon and Florida State.
No, Florida State will get popped, man, without their quarterback out, man.
Well,
Louisville,
like I said, with that being said, let's say Florida State pulls it off. To my knowledge, I believe they're still undefeated.
Yeah, but I watched. I'm sorry to cut you off. I watched Rodemaker last week, especially going against a terrible Florida team. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, Florida can't score. Louisville can. Rodemaker can't throw. It's gonna that number 4 spot is gonna be open. Market.
So that which is my point. Who's going to pose the biggest problem? I don't want to use the word fear, but what causes me the greatest bit of apprehension if we got to play Oregon. Oregon is very, very physical on both sides of the ball. Obviously, they got a great quarterback and are able to take the top off. Um, and to me, it's a contradiction in styles where Oregon seems to be able to get those huge chunk plays and play with great athleticism. We, on the other hand, especially offensively, we're looking to grind it out. And it's, as you said before, styles make fights. But again, I'm definitely been very impressed with the Oregon Duck line play on both sides of the ball. Very physical up front on the offensive side of the ball, and their defensive front seven knows how to get after the quarterback.
I went to go see Oregon play 2 weeks ago against Arizona State, and I was able to show my girl an NFL quarterback. You know what I'm saying? It was a totally different skill set.
Right.
Bo Nix is really elevated. But I believe even if they win, they're still going to get that number 4 spot, and we're going to have to face them Longhorns.
I mean, which is going to be a precursor to next year because we got to play Texas in our preseason schedule next year. So either way it goes, I think whoever gets that 4 spot is going to be a formidable foe. But which brings me to my next point of discussion.
We'll be getting the 3 spot though. We'll be getting the 3.
Okay, but whoever it is, I'm just looking to get past that first round at this particular point.
Yeah, that's a positive winning season. Then you know what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? If we've done it the first 2 seasons. Now let's take the next step, right? And we're going to, in order to do that, to your point, we're going to have to be healthy. We're going to have guys step up. We're going to have guys playing out of their minds. Kyle, I know you spoke about when Zach got hurt, and it was kind of that shot in the arm that we may have needed. I thought it was huge when Blake had scored a short time after the injury, and he threw up the 6-5 in solidarity of his brother. And I've been seeing this all year long in different other shows and deals I got going on where this team just plays for each other. They continue to show up for the man to their left and the man to their right. These guys are brothers through and through. And to me, that really is the sexy thing about this team, is the fact that with all the distractions between Coach Harbaugh, you got guys making crazy NIL money, all of the different things that these guys could be focused on. But what I'm seeing by how they play and how they treat each other on the field, they're focused on each other. And because they're focused on each other, they're moving in lockstep in the same direction to try to secure A, another Big Ten championship 3 in a row, and B, let's get deeper into this playoff and possibly bring home a national championship to Ann Arbor.
You know what I say? It's great to be a Michigan Wolverine.
Yep.
All day.
So since we're talking about the playoff, let's just say everything stands pat. It ends up being Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Florida State.
Right.
How big of a threat could the Huskies could be to us?
Like we spoke about this before. I think you and I can't remember. Like I said, I think I said we haven't beaten Washington since Warren Moon. You know what I'm saying?
No. We beat Washington freshman year.
Not in the bowl game. Not in the bowl game.
Yes, it was the Rose Bowl.
When Napoleon Kaufman
1993.
That was Napoleon Kaufman and Steve Edman, right?
We beat Washington 1993.
You sure?
1993.
I mean, he was there, right?
I was there. I was on the sidelines, bro.
He could have been freshman. Man, you might have been chilling over there. Might have slipped something.
No, true freshman. And
I couldn't remember that. That's the only time, like I said, I couldn't remember.
That was Tyrone Wheatley coming out party.
Okay. All right. There you go. You're right about that.
You think?
So we got the top 4 right now, and then we still have who is it? Oregon,
Texas, Oregon,
Texas,
Alabama.
Alabama, and the team down south. Now, out of those 4 teams, one of those gets in. Who do you think could be the biggest threat? It sounds like you guys are saying it could be Oregon. What do you think?
No, it's either Oregon or Texas. Either one of the teams. Because those are two different styles right there. That's a SEC team. You know what I'm saying? And a Pac-12 team. Those are two different styles, and they're gonna clash. The SEC versus Pac-12. Man, look at every bowl game. They get smashed. They can't keep up with the strength and the power of them big linemen down south. You know what I'm saying? So Texas is the threat.
Yeah, I definitely think Texas will be a better matchup for us, at least in that first round. Honestly, like I said, we're going to have to play out of our minds. I definitely don't want to see us going into that Georgia game. I think whoever Georgia faces in that first round, they should win. And with that being said, we get to the championship game, we have to go in with the proper mindset. And what I mean by proper mindset, not thinking, not hoping, but knowing we're going to find a way to win this game, whatever it takes to get it done.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. I'm just going to keep it funky. Them Buckeyes would beat Texas, Alabama, and Oregon.
I don't know.
I disagree purely to Kyle's point.
They damn near beat Georgia last year.
Hey, like I said, with that quarterback play right now,
Honda McCord.
No.
I definitely wouldn't trust it at this point. Purely based off the fact that young man showed me that pressure bust pipes, and he wasn't ready to be prime time.
He looked like C.J. Stroud last year.
But so now let's go back to we talk about Stroud and the level of athleticism that he brought, and he was shook. And so obviously this current quarterback doesn't have that level of athleticism. Now take marginal athleticism on top of a weak mindset under the lights.
In order for Ohio State to compete, they need a quarterback that may look like Troy, that may look like Barrett, may look like Haskins. If you get where I'm going here.
No, I mean, let's address the elephant in the room, because it's kind of been a quasi-running joke with me and other former Wolverines that this is the first time we've seen a white quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're going to call a spade a spade. It's the first time we've seen a white quarterback for the Buckeyes in years, probably almost 10 years. The last time, I know when my last year playing them, they had a white quarterback. I don't really know who came after them, and then there was a run.
Chris Kringle.
Okay, but they had a run of very talented quarterbacks with great arm strength, great arm talent, great athleticism, and on top of a few of those guys were actually really good quarterbacks who were athletic, and some of those guys were athletic guys who got to play quarterback, right?
Chris Kringle was the last one, and he won that championship against Miami.
There you have it. So, and what happened to him? And again, that just seems like a name that kind of faded into obscurity after the fact. But all that to be said, getting back to the original point, based off of what they have right now, and I think the Wolverines showed it. All you really have to do is take Marvin Harrison out of the equation, and then when you get an opportunity to get their running back, Travion, I believe his name is, get him on the ground, just don't allow him to get in the yak. And once you stop those two parts of the equation, you're pretty comfortable. I thought Stover, their tight end, was going to have a little bit bigger game against us. He was nullified for the most part. And I think the other piece behind it too is by disguising your coverages for their quarterback, I don't think he saw or was used to seeing what we threw out there at him, and it caused him some confusion and hesitation.
Along with the 4-man rush, not to mention those exotic blitzes He was off his rockers.
Right. So all that to be said, there's still a learning curve for that young man. He could come into his own, but as I see it right now, if by hook or by crook they make it into the playoffs and they have to play one of
Oh,
those teams outside of us,
yeah.
it's a bad day.
Yeah, see, Aaron Nolan is coming in next year, so we got that same type of quarterback, like we were saying. The black quarterback is coming. Aaron Nolan will be a starter next year. Marvin Harrison was quoted saying that he's never seen a defense like
Right.
that. Yeah, not that defense scheme played against him. That's so.
So again, our
A lot of
defensive
nevers this
coordinator,
season when people talk about
but
Michigan.
but again, that goes back to Jim Harbaugh and his ability to build a quality coaching staff. As I've been saying time and time again, you got guys that are young enough to identify and relate with the new era of player, but you got guys that are old enough and experienced enough to bring quality coaching and instruction to the guys and put together some quality schemes that, hey, Marvin Harrison said it himself. He's never seen nothing like that.
All right, so yeah, before we do talk about Harbaugh real quick, I do want to talk about Coach Moore, who done a stellar job in these 3 games. So I do want to ask you think he's going to be back next year? I'm fully expecting for him to get some
Yeah,
head coaching.
if he doesn't get a job, he'll be it'll be the travesty. He'll be Eric Bieniemy eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Definitely, man. He's gonna get a payday. But at the same time, look. I could have came and coached those three games. Thomas, you could have won those 3 games.
Oh, there's
You know
no
what I'm
doubt.
saying? Yep. All
There's
you have
no
to do is
doubt.
steer that ship. You know what I'm saying? Steer the ship and make high percentage calls. That was one in the offseason. That was one during the week when Harbaugh was sitting there in his hotel at his
Right.
crib watching that game. That was his schemes being ran. Moore was there for galvanization. You know what I'm saying? That's why they interchanged those coaches during the first 3 weeks. You know, I think it was
But
Mike Hart and then the other cat and then Moore. Look, man, like I say, yeah, Thomas, you could have came up there, probably put a,
but the other piece of that too though is all that to be said, you still have to go out there and do it under
yep,
the brightest of lights in the biggest of circumstances and your first time doing it, right? So again, all that to be said, Coach Moore did a fabulous job.
there he did.
I don't see him going anywhere. I think the university would be at a loss because again, here we go with well, the Bears are entertaining looking at Harbaugh to bring them in as a new head coach. Um, I'm sure Jimmy's going to be downplaying that. Hey, our focus is Iowa and winning the national championship, blah blah blah. But when we talk about recruiting, because to me that's going to be the thing that keeps us in these conversations is first of all you got to win. Secondly, having the ability to attract and retain these 4 or 5 star individuals. And once we get that level of talent in, how do we coach these young men up to make them ready to go out there on Saturday? So all these different layers, if you will, need to be addressed. But I still think we're in a really good position. If I was a young kid coming out right now, well, I don't know if Coach Harbaugh is going to be there. And if that is in fact the case, but we get Coach Moore to say, hey, I'm not looking to go anywhere. I love what I do. I love this team, blah, blah, blah. I can still say as a recruit, well, if Coach Harbaugh leaves, there's a higher probability that the
Right.
university should keep Moore in from interim head coach to head coach based off of his body of work. So now we're not out here scrambling, looking and trying to do a Michigan State right now and bring in some guy from, Oregon State or some obscure sort of situation to come in here and to start back from scratch. Where Moore would already have had his staff in place. The kids already know him. He's pretty much already built a name for himself. So his ability to go out and recruit the best of the best, he's going to be right up there with everyone else if Coach Harbaugh does decide to leave. Now, again, these things need to be addressed sooner than later so that we don't have kids decommitting and all this other stuff. Because, again, we know everything is very flaky at this particular time. And, kids are looking for I want to come in now. I want to win now. Nobody's trying to stick it out a couple of 2, 3 years and build a program to be a part of something special. They want to come into something that is already special. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, as you were saying about the recruiting, there were a lot of recruits in the house for Saturday's game. There was Bryce Underwood was there, the number 1 quarterback for 2025, 5-star safety DJ Pickett. He's the number 1 player in Florida, top 10 player. Receiver Gatlin Bear, 4-star receiver. Caden Strayhorn, Marcus Wimberly, many of us. There was like 70 recruits in the house for that game.
Right,
so,
right.
I guess I want to ask, like, being in that atmosphere, how much do you and getting the win, obviously, how much do you think that actually affects the recruiting?
I mean, it's huge at that particular point. You're coming from high school, getting to, literally what game was the highest watched game during that tenure right there, right? It was the Michigan Ohio State game. And so not only to get the W, but to also be in the afterglow, if you will. Everybody rushes the field just to be down there. You're seeing Charles Woodson. You're seeing Desmond Howard.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the guys had came back, so there were other players sprinkled out on the sidelines and in the stands. So you're seeing all of these Michigan standouts, these Michigan greats, and to just be a part of that electrifying atmosphere. The Bama Auburn game, the Iron Bowl.
Ooh, that pass.
Right. And so my point being is they didn't garner the same level of television attention as we did in last week's game. So as a recruit, just to be in that particular environment alone, one of the largest stadiums, if not the largest stadium in the country, get a massive W. Everybody's rushing the field, just the pandemonium that came along with that. You can't tell me that those recruits weren't juiced up like, yeah, I can definitely see myself doing this.
Yeah, so in other news, Harbaugh's been freed. He's back from the 3-game suspension.
Right.
And I do want to ask you guys, do you think this is like, how much motivation does it provide, or could it be another distraction? I'm just, wondering.
Ain't no distraction. No. That's the ball coach, baby. It's time to roll, baby. You know what I'm saying? This is the best coach in college. This is my Bo Schembechler. You know what I'm saying? Every time I coach right now, it don't matter. I can be coaching a team that we're all red. I'm the only one out there with a Michigan hat on and glasses. You know what I'm saying? Facts. You know what I'm saying? We about to roll, baby. Welcome back, coach. Everything is going to be in order. You know what I'm saying? It's time now.
The other piece to that, too, though, Kyle, is I would say it would be a distraction if Jimmy had not been there, if Jimmy was to have been excluded from all football activities, i.e., no practices, things of that nature. But Jimmy has been there from day one, in the building, in the meetings with the coaches. Nothing has changed other than, okay, on Saturday, he's back on the sidelines, right? Yeah. So Coach Moore still calling the plays. Everything's pretty much intact. Now, instead of Moore having to do 3 things, coach the offensive line, call the plays, and manage the game. Coach Sharon Moore has done a fabulous job wearing 3 hats in one. Now we're going to take one of those hats off, let him get back to his normal duties, coaching the offensive line, calling plays. And like I said, I think this is going to be a time where the boys are going to want to press the gas. Hey, coach, they tried to take you away from us. We got you back. This one's from you. I described it as this. Michigan is a hydra, and they try to cut off one of our heads. They try to cut off the head, not expecting more heads to sprout and grow and for us to still to be as effective as we were. So with all that being said, we are now back to full strength. It's kind of like Voltron when all the Lions came together and united into one. We're back at it right now. We're going to press the gas on these boys. So I'm super excited to see what happens in this Big Ten championship game.
But this is what I want to know. This is what I hope not to see. I hope not to see a powerful Maryland team in the playoffs. That's our poison. That style. You get what I'm saying? Yep. And we're gonna get we're likely to see that. We got that versus TCU last year.
Well, but the big thing about it too is I think we are better prepared. That Maryland game for me was just the right seasoning we needed for this OSU game. I knew OSU was going to be a 4 quarter game. Prior to Maryland, when have we had to play a full 4 quarters? When did we really have to go and take the game and make the game ours? The Maryland game got us ready for that. I think we went and did that against OSU. What I'm looking for against Iowa, though, is a fast, dominating start and pressing the gas from start to finish. Let's learn how to put teams away early and keep them put to bed. Feed them NyQuil, give them the Benadryl, whatever it takes, but put them boys to sleep and all the way throughout the game. I felt like in the Maryland game, we gave them some glimmers of hope that they were able to stay with us. Maryland is going to be a really good team probably in the next 2 to 3 years if they get the right guys in there.
We got the same game from them last year. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And then we turned around and got that. Go ahead.
This year, and I've been saying it time and time again, Maryland has literally turned into our Indiana. Because I know when I played, Indiana used to always play us tough, and it was always the game before Ohio State. So whatever team that's kind of put into that next to last slot, for whatever reason, we always get their best shot.
So yeah, this Saturday, Big Ten championship. Obviously, we're playing Iowa, 8 p.m. kickoff. Primetime game. Really quickly, what's going to be the key to getting our third straight Big Ten championship, guys?
Well, let me get this. First of all, I'm just going to put it like this. I think McCarthy didn't play in the fourth quarter, like 3 quarters of the season. He won't play in the fourth quarter in this one either.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
That's how you feel?
That's what it is.
Okay. For me, all I'm looking for, as I said before, is consistency of the symphony of violence, as I like to call it.
I like that.
Play, you can use that if you want. I didn't trademark it yet. Okay. Yeah, symphony of violence. What I'm looking for is our ability to snatch these guys so early. We just got to beat these guys up. Looking for continued continuity, and especially now up front. Like I said, the guys that are going to be the starting 5 have had a lot of time together. Zach not being there is obviously going to be a key loss, but I believe these guys that we got as our starting 5 have enough playing experience between them, and then looking at the amount of time that they have had to play together, I think we're going to be all right up front. JJ just go be JJ, win the turnover battle, and don't let the Hawkeyes think they have a chance in hell as far as sticking with us in this game. So hopefully
they
Rod's
average
right.
like 13 points a game anyway.
Right, but they got a decent enough defense. They play hard, but again, snatch the soul early. Put these boys to bed, and let's get after it. One of the things I'm really looking to see is making sure we get out of there healthy. No major injuries, nothing sketchy like that. Obviously, got to keep JJ healthy. So the big boys up front got to do their job. Like literally, you got to take this personal. And speaking of quarterback play, I was happy to see Orji get the play that he got.
Yeah,
early play.
Yeah, exactly. Where it was kind of crucial. And I think that was a little bit of gamesmanship on Coach Moore's behalf. Obviously, JJ is JJ, but when you bring Orji in, I wonder what Day and his defensive coordinators was thinking, especially when he got that first, big run. He's like, Jesus, what are we going to do with this? Because this is something that we hadn't prepared for, and we haven't seen this young man. Even in the games that JJ didn't compete in towards the end of the game, we maybe saw Orji once or twice. It was always the other backups.
Yep.
So I definitely feel like Orji could be that guy coming in the next season if JJ decides to leave. I hope JJ decides to stay. I still think there's some seasoning he needs before going to the NFL, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, before you go to New England.
Yeah. Right.
Take a pay cut to go to the NFL, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see how this team bounces back for the 24th season. especially with that preseason schedule we got coming up and all the Pac-12 teams coming over.
That's it for this week's episode of Under the Wings Helmet. Thank you to our sponsors, Javs Gym and Juke. Also, be sure to check out Under the Wing Helmet merchandise at asapelite.com. Come back next week where we start to build up to the college football playoff. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and the Believe Podcast Network. You can also watch us on asapelite.com and the ASAP Elite YouTube channel. For Thomas Guynes and Rob Penn, I'm Kyle Simmons. Go Blue.
Hell yeah.
Go Blue, boys.